A powerful 8.7 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky may have serious implications for key Russian military installations, including nuclear and diesel submarine bases located in Avacha Bay. This assessment was shared by military analyst and founder of the Frontelligence Insight project, known under the alias Tatarigami UA, a former Ukrainian officer, who based his conclusions on open-source satellite data and his own analysis. The earthquake's epicenter was situated roughly 100 kilometers from Avacha Bay, which serves as the main base of Russia's Pacific Fleet. According to Tatarigami, the quake's intensity was sufficient to cause both structural damage and tsunami activity, with effects already documented in the city. 3 strategic military facilities are located along this vulnerable stretch of coastline. The Northeastern Repair Center, responsible for servicing both nuclear and diesel submarines. The Rybachiye submarine base, which houses active duty units of the Pacific Fleet. A specialized loading dock for ballistic missiles used to arm strategic submarines. Satellite imagery taken roughly 2 weeks prior to the earthquake showed 6 nuclear submarines stationed at a base near Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, just 100 kilometers from the seismic center. These included 3 Oscar-class submarines, 1 Akula-class, 1 Bore-class, and 1 Delta-class vessel. All of these facilities are located only 3 to 6 meters above sea level, making them especially vulnerable to tsunami waves. If the waves exceeded 3 meters, a plausible scenario given the earthquake's magnitude, critical infrastructure and equipment could have sustained significant damage. As of July 17, high-resolution satellite images showed 5 submarines moored at the base. By July 20, at least 3 were still clearly visible in follow-up imagery, while the status of 2 others remains uncertain. Additional satellite images are expected to provide further insight into the extent of the damage. Tatarigami has indicated that he will release an updated assessment in the coming days. Should the infrastructure prove compromised, Russia may temporarily lose operational capacity for part of its strategic nuclear naval forces in the Far East, an especially serious setback amid ongoing geopolitical tensions and the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian drones continue to strike strategically important targets deep within Russian territory on an almost daily basis, fueling growing panic among Russian propagandists, some of whom now openly fear the potential for unrest. One anti-war Telegram channel recently shared a video clip from a Russian television broadcast featuring prominent Kremlin propagandist Margarita Simonyan. In the clip, Simonyan voiced alarm over the disruption Ukrainian drone strikes are causing at Russian airports, particularly during the height of the summer travel season. Ukrainians are trying to stir up a riot here. Why are they causing chaos at our airports during the holiday rush? How many drones have they launched this week? I don't even know, but it's a huge number. What kind of military tactics is this? She asked rhetorically. Moments later, she appeared to answer her own question, suggesting that Ukraine's goal is to destabilize Russian society and push public sentiment in a more oppositional direction. One of the latest confirmed drone strikes targeted the Stavropol-based signal radio plant, an enterprise that plays a key role in Russia's defense industry. The facility produces electronic warfare systems, radar equipment, radio navigation gear, and remote control components, all essential for the Russian military's technological infrastructure. On the night of July 29, drones also struck the city of Salska in Russia's Rostov region. A series of explosions was reported around 2 a.m., followed by a massive fire near a key railway junction. Salska serves as a major logistics hub for the Russian armed forces, facilitating the transfer of personnel and equipment to frontline positions via the region's rail network. Similar attacks have been reported in other regions as well. In the Volgograd region, residents described a drone strike followed by a large fire at what many believe was a critical facility. While Russian authorities have not officially confirmed that an oil depot was hit, the scale of the blaze, as seen in circulating images, suggests the target was likely a fuel or logistics site of military importance. Taken together, these strikes reflect a clear Ukrainian strategy: applying pressure not just at the front but deep in the rear, targeting the infrastructure that fuels Russia's war effort and its domestic sense of security. The long-term consequences of Russia's war against Ukraine may hit the country hardest after the fighting ends. The real threat lies not in defeat on the battlefield, but in what follows: the return of tens or even hundreds of thousands of armed, wounded, and disillusioned men. These individuals are unlikely to take out their anger on Vladimir Putin. Instead, it will be their neighbors, families, and communities who suffer. Researcher Elvira Bari explores this looming danger in an article for The Spectator. Russia didn't send its best to the front. The majority of recruits came from impoverished, remote regions, often men with criminal records, alcohol addictions, and little to lose. For many, military service was the first time they felt respected, powerful, and needed. But that illusion will end with demobilization. They will return home with PTSD, broken bodies, broken promises, and seething resentment. Already, the effects are being felt. Over 240 people in Russia have been killed by individuals who were pardoned for joining the war effort. Rapists, murderers, and repeat offenders are being released back into society. Many have simply resumed their former lives, leaving behind a trail of violence, arson, and sexual assault. Since the war began, at least 242 civilians have been killed and another 227 seriously injured by returnees. These are just the early signs. As more fighters return, the violence is expected to escalate. The public is increasingly aware that the glorified image of the Russian soldier on state TV is a myth. The reality is far darker. Men trained to kill, emboldened by wartime impunity, now walking the streets with demands, anger, and few alternatives. Having grown accustomed to military salaries of 300,000 to 400,000 rubles per month, few are willing to return to ordinary jobs. Yet the state will soon end these payments, along with its symbolic praise for the so-called heroes. Local authorities are already preparing for the fallout. Some veterans will be sent back to the front. Others will be quietly relocated to remote areas and given token positions. But power, wealth, and influence will remain with bureaucrats and elites. Even decorated or disabled veterans will find themselves excluded from cafes, from society, from normal life. At best, they'll be used as patriotic symbols on posters. At worst, they'll be ignored and forgotten. Thousands of men, conditioned to solve problems with violence, will come home, many of them heavy drinkers, jobless, and unafraid of the law. They will not forgive society or the state for their new poverty and isolation. The state, in turn, will try to look the other way. The Kremlin's greatest fear is what these men represent, writes Bari. They are a living reminder of failure, of pain, of the terrible price paid for imperial ambition. The state will try to hide them, silence them, erase them. But they won't stay silent. They've learned how to kill. And now they're home. I suspect, she concludes, that those who return especially broken and disfigured will face a similar fate. They embody everything the Kremlin wants the public to forget, at least until it's ready to start another war.